Good evening, friends. Welcome to yet another episodes of the Career Shifts podcast. This is the journey to the future. And what an incredible moment it is. The world celebrates International Yoga Day this Saturday, a day when the world pauses, however briefly, to acknowledge the power of breath, movement, stillness, and awareness. But here's the thing: for many of us, yoga still lives in the realm of physical, something we do it on the mat, a practice we fit between busy schedules. And yet, at a time when so many of us are navigating transitions, overwhelm, and invisible fatigue, what if yoga could be something more? A path to healing, a way to return to ourselves, a bridge between who we are and who we are becoming. That is what this conversation is all about. It began a few weeks ago during a conversation with my dear friend Pallavi Sharma. She casually mentioned, Gopal, you must talk to Supriya. I think her work will resonate a lot with the Career Shifts podcast. I reached out, but as I listened to Supriya, I realized that this wasn't just a story about career shifts or yoga. It was about how we reclaim inner alignment in a world that constantly fragments it. It's about how we heal, not someday when life is sorted, but right here in the midst of our imperfect lives. Supriya today is a yoga teacher, healer, and a guide who works at the intersection of movement, breath, awareness, and deep personal transformation. Her work keeps people navigate not just physical being, but emotional shifts with greater clarity and compassion. And that's why this conversation felt urgent and necessary. Because today, behind every polished LinkedIn headline, every every high performing leader, every person trying to keep it together, there is often a quieter story of depletion, of drift, of longing for a way back to the center. So if you have been feeling stretched thin, if you're standing at crossroads, or simply seeking quieter, deeper way of living and leading, this conversation is for you. Hi, Supriya, how are you doing?
Hi, very well. How are you?
Doing well. Firstly, thank you for accepting the invitation to join me on this podcast. It's an incredible opportunity to kind of, um, it's an interesting week that we are all going through with a
Yeah,
lot of people trying to remember what yoga is, and
absolutely.
I'm sure you are being invited to a lot of such conversations as well. So, but yeah, I think the conversation that I would like to take is to you first. Um, it was not that you started off with yoga since birth, it happened to you in some form. So, why don't you really walk us through your journey or your career shifts so that the world is able to know a bit more about you?
I was a commercial artist and I was working in an advertising agency for the longest time. Then I started out myself. I was a freelancer, I was a graphic designer, and that was going very well. But at some point, it started making me unhappy. There was something lacking. Wake up every day, design, submit, change, take your money, finish it off. At some point it just felt very meaningless, and that's when I started thinking as to what is it that I'm seeking. And I definitely didn't see myself retiring without any deeper goals in life. This felt very shallow at some point of time. There was nothing that I was doing that was moving my world or changing my world and someone else's. And that's the reason I kind of I remember towards the end, even the creative work that I was doing wasn't up to my satisfaction because I had already lost my interest there. It was kind of done and dusted for me, and then started this whole thought process of what next to do, because you've been doing the same thing for so many years, you don't know what else you're capable of doing.
Very true, very true. And that's kind of true for a lot of people who are in their mid careers and I mean, has
Absolutely.
been fundamental to what the career shifts journey has been for me as well, in terms of even bringing in guests who have been there, done that. Walk us a little bit through more about, how did that transition to yoga happen? I mean, I think it would be very interesting to see
Yeah,
what.
it's a beautiful journey. So what happened is, I after this whole thing happened, very unhappy mentally, and I started falling sick, and like my thyroid went haywire, and I was just not in that happy space. Something wasn't right. And then I have this friend. She told me I'm a teacher for so long. I've known her. She said, "Why don't you join my classes? Figure out what you want to do. At least your health will be under control, and then आप देख लो क्या करना है types." So I said, okay. So I joined her as a yoga student, and she was teaching. It was going well, and the whole idea was, as soon as I am okay with my thyroid, I'm going to stop this and start going for walks or whatever it was. This wasn't my way. And then she came up to me and she said, "You know what? I am moving to Dubai. You need to find yourself another teacher." So I was like, okay, now what do I do? Where do I look for a good teacher? See, yoga is a lot about the same wavelength with your teacher. It's not just about learning from any teacher. So then I started looking for another teacher and I just wouldn't like anybody. Then she came up to me and she said, "Why don't you become a yoga teacher?" Now that was something I had it's like yoga happened to me. And she convinced me and she said, "आप आगे कुछ मत करो. आप TTC तो कर लो, a teacher training. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens." And then at that point, I was so burnt out. I had to do something new. That something new was very important. Otherwise, I knew it was not going to come back. That happiness in life, I had to break out of this whole designing circle and do something that I was very uncomfortable with so that I could learn more. And then I enrolled for my course. So I completely owe this to her. And every time something really big happens in my life, I genuinely thank her for putting me onto this path. Then I did my 9 months teacher training. And at that point also, I kept thinking, what am I learning? I mean, we were learning Bhagavad Gita and yogic concepts, and I was like, am I made for this? Do I even understand spirituality at this level to even go through what they're teaching? But then I said, chalo, course khatam kar lete. We'll finish the course. We'll look at it as it goes. Trust me, the way they teach you at the institute, okay, they drill it into your head so beautifully, and you don't even realize. So that happened, and I didn't realize how much I loved it. Then I did my
Hmm.
Ashtanga teacher training in Mysore, and then I gave my Ayush Ministry certification. And then it just kept working on, okay, now what? Now what? I want to learn more. I want to learn more. I want to learn more. And then my really, really well wishers, like all of them they were like, okay, tu humko sikha, like you start with us. And so in COVID, I started teaching them. And I'm
Hmm.
telling you, and I never have been happier. I realized, okay, this is what it is that I wanted to do, and this is it. I mean, and every time that I teach, no, it's all about not just physical yoga, but what they have taught us. And every time I go teach someone, I realize, oh my God, what a fabulous job they've done with us because the yogic concepts and all are so beautiful. And the institute taught us to preach like that, to teach like that, not just, on the very physical level. So for me, it was life changing.
I want to pick up on what you just said about a very, very interesting thing that I have been also talking to quite a few people, and in fact, a friend of mine also spoke about that this morning. Like, I was not happy with what I was doing,
Hmm.
as if you kind of go, I mean, you keep doing it, but you're not enjoying it.
Correct.
Um, and happiness is something that we often, many ways, a lot of us take it for granted and start seeking meaning in physical form. But no matter if you have your swankiest iPhone 17 Pro Max or
Absolutely.
BMW, ain't coming back, right? It's going, maybe it will give you a few seconds of emotional high, but you're back to
Temporary.
normal, right? Um, how is it that it is different today? Like, when you're doing what you're doing, perhaps it would be hard, but let's give it a try to say, what changed ever since you started doing this, in terms of being happy?
I think my life changed 360 degrees. I think okay, so physically, yes, I've healed from, so I had IBS, I had thyroid, I had severe acid reflux. So I had a lot of things parallelly going wrong with my physical body. Okay. Now,
Mm,
this was kind of fixed over a period of time while I was practicing as a student. But what really changed was the way I think, the way I look at life, the way life has settled for me. So I used to always think like I'm not good enough, or life was always on a comparison mode because I was not happy with what I am doing. So I kind of looked outside of me to see, oh, she's doing this, maybe that's better than what I am doing. So the shift from being extremely dissatisfied with myself to being very happy with myself is what happened. Okay. And I'm telling you, Gopal, that the day you realize this and you're happy with yourself, it's it's an incredible way to go back to sleep in the night or to wake up in the morning, and then everything around you, nothing bothers you because you're not judging yourself. Forget everybody else. You are not judging yourself on the basis of these factors because you're so happy doing what you are doing that it really doesn't matter whether the other one has a BMW or they have a bungalow and you're staying in a it then becomes I don't care, it just doesn't. And it's not a compromise. You change. Like, I'm not saying ki, if it's not like the grapes are sour, it's not that concept. The concept is,
correct.
I'm so happy with what I'm doing that what you have only makes my life better and doesn't pull me down. So that was what happened with me. So when you touch people, so I now feel I had a very shallow life. Okay. I had
Mm,
no bigger goals. There was nothing that I was doing which was giving me eternal satisfaction. Now, when you work on a student, you know the student's life is changed. You're making a difference to the world. Okay, it is so satisfying, and the fact that you know today at any point of time, I know there are at least 100 people wishing well for me. Now, that's my money. That's my treasure. That's all I want, and
mm,
genuinely from the depth of their heart. Okay, none of them is pretending because they genuinely love and care for me, and that's all you need in this world.
yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
feel.
yeah, yeah. Um, when you kind of chase that, often there is always a myth or a misconception that it comes at a price which is a lot heavier than what people can think about. Meaning, here you are working for an organization with a lot of money than what you can think about. Your parents would fall off their chair, perhaps looking at what you make, and suddenly you start feeling shallow, as you said. And one of the reasons why you don't want to lift the leg off your accelerator is you feel the car would come to a stop or a halt, and that madness continues, and you keep on your leg on the accelerator and continue to drive meaninglessly. um, but here you are. I think your journey has been phenomenal, if not you know I don't know, it may be much better than what you were doing in
It
terms of
is.
being
It
an employee
is.
somewhere.
It's
And
it
that's
is.
that's the myth that people often misunderstand, right? Do you want to share any thoughts on how your journey was over the last 4 years? And then we'll come to yoga and a lot of others, but this is more
Yeah.
about you. Yeah.
So, Gopal, I started with a vision of making a difference in people's life. Okay.
Mm,
So I had done this mistake. Okay. So when I was working as a designer, the focus was success, money, and the focus was uh how big I'm on that ladder. Okay. Now
mm, mm,
now the focus had changed to being how much happiness can I get to your life? And
mm,
that was the effort. So I started from a completely different goal. The goal was not to make money or to become rich. What that was never the goal because that is something I wanted to go away from. I consciously
mm.
made a shift, and my idea was that my responsibility is to make my students' life better. Okay, and
Sure.
trust me, I have never looked back and uh, so when I should design, you have to ask your clients for money, right? I don't even have to ask for my fees. I have met such a beautiful bunch of people. I've never had to ever say, okay, my fees are this or whatever it is. It's just there. It's just there. They make it a point that it's all paid on time. I've never asked for money, so money just follows. It's the goal has to be right, and you have to be passionate about it. Okay,
Mm.
you have to be passionate about it. If you're not passionate about it, and if you're going to start working from a thought process saying, I want to make 4 lakhs per month, you're again going back to the rut that you started from. But
Yeah.
I love the way yoga has shaped my life. I love, I used to be a very judgmental person. I've changed. My the way I look at life and the way I look at others has changed, and that's how everybody has changed towards me. So the only thing I get back from them is love. How could anything go wrong here?
Mm. Mm. Wonderfully said. And I think if you're focusing on passion and purpose, I think things work really well. Well said. There is a comment that has come in from Ruchi, who's a good friend. Wow, the day you become happy with yourself, you get rid of modern life anxiety. It's futile to get into comparison trap. Very well said, Ruchi. Appreciate you
Absolutely.
joining us. And whoever is listening into this, if you have any questions for Supriya, please do put in the comments. I'll take them up as the show progresses. Uh, Now let's get into yoga. If you really look at yoga, and a lot of people have this understanding that yoga is something about physical fitness, right?
Correct.
Um, but you do yoga, you also do healing. Walk us through what it is. I mean, actually, I mean, of course, for a person looking at it, it may feel that okay, it's some bit of actions and you're trying to get your body in order and all of that. But there is something that internally, intrinsically changes. Um, Enlighten us of what yoga is and what healing is.
So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you coordinated your physical actions, your breath, and you were 100% mindful at that moment in what you were doing? Okay. So the thing is, we are very scattered. We are very scattered. All right. So, physically, I'll tell you how this works. Physically, yoga is the only practice that connects your breath, your physical movement, and your mind. Okay. When you see somebody in a posture, you look at and say, Kar kya raha hai? Haath hi to phailaya hai. But a teacher guides you into what has to be engaged, which muscle is used, how is it used, is there a contraction, is there a flexion. So even on the mat, a student is doing so many things together that there is
Mm,
no time for you to think about an external influence. Now, that's what we mean by giving an hour to yourself. So,
mm,
breath, movement, and physically and mindfully being there for an hour without an external thought is the first thing that I think we have to do. So that's the
yeah.
physical part of it. Okay. Now, when we look at the mental part of it, so yoga is not just about physically doing practice on the mat. That is where the cleansing of the physical body starts. Okay. The body warms up and your body, you clean out your bowels, and that's how the body is ready to further take it to the next level. That's your breath and your meditation. Okay. So
Mm,
it's very important to do your asana practice so that the body cleanses itself, prepares itself for pranayam and dhyan dharana. Okay. Now, there also, yoga has a lot of beautiful yogic concepts. Okay. And they are so beautiful. I'll give you a very small example because it's very abstract for somebody who doesn't know. Okay. Yoga teaches you the concept of detachment. All right. And it is a beautiful, beautiful concept. Okay. We are so over attached to everything, be it materialistic, be it relationships, be it everything in life. Okay. So
mm.
a lot of times I have told my students, you're going to go back home today, pick up the most favorite outfit that you have and you donate it to someone. It is so
Wow.
difficult because you are so attached to it. But I'm telling you, the day they do it, they message back and they say, something feels very good today. Something has
Mm,
some bond has broken. Something feels liberating today, Supriya. Okay.
mm.
Also, when it comes to your relationship, to the children, I mean, as a mother, I was so over attached to her, and every decision was from a very different point of view. Now, when you learn detachment in the correct way, okay, that is again, your teacher has to guide you through what this detachment means, how you have to do it, how it has to be done. So, today, my relationship with my daughter is so beautiful. She's responsible for what she does. I Yoga has changed me completely, and that whole over attachment of my child, my this thing has completely gone off from my life. So she's another individual. I am another individual. We live lives together. We discuss, but we don't dominate each other's life. Just because I'm a mother, does it? I have not in the same that whole thing of attachment. It's made her life easier. It's made her independent. So yoga has this beautiful concepts of vairagya, which is like, you surrender. You surrender. How many times we think, oh, if I surrender, everything will go out of my hand, and we don't. You have
Yeah,
to
true.
learn, you have to oh my God, I'm telling you, Gopal, life just changes because then you start having, see, and I feel you can't live your life without an influence of some spiritual practice. It could be yoga,
Sure.
it could be breath work, it could be something has to lead your life so that when you're in a crisis, you can stand up and you can support everybody.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
for me, that's yoga, and I teach also like
Hmm.
that. So all my students, if you look at the way I teach them, when they do a certain practice, I teach them what kind of a bhav. For example, some asanas work on your self-respect, about how you carry your spine, how you feel after you practice. Now these all have to be taught to your students, and you have to make sure that they get their attention to this, and that's how life starts to change.
Wonderfully said. And I think what we fall back on is breathwork seems so simple. I've tried yoga multiple times, continue to try. One of the things that I've observed consciously is the fact that whenever there is a body movement, and when there is a um, when they tell you that you need to breathe in before you make this next move, um, almost feels like I'm completely switching it for some reason. So it also tells you that how we have been not doing certain basic stuff correctly, which is causing all of these
Absolutely.
problems that we have in our lives. So, and this is as simple as breathing, is what I could say, right?
Oh,
You also
pranayama is
speak
like a
about,
miracle of life. Good.
yes, yes, it is, it is. Um, you also speak about healing, right? I mean, and healing
Yeah.
with yoga. Could you walk the audience through a little bit more about that? Because healing again is
So two
often
aspects to
mis.
healing again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
first
Yeah.
one is again breath work or pranayama. Now,
Mm,
all our organs are basically made of cells, right?
mm,
What happens is we've forgotten to breathe. We've forgotten to breathe. So the intercellular oxygen exchange has reduced. And that's how they
mm,
are working at a lower rate than what they should be. A simple mindful breath work, pranayam practice for 15 to 20 minutes every day will change everything physically inside for you.
uh,
It's
mm.
just about, even if you sit down and complete an exhale of in 3 counts and inhale of 3 counts, you are giving so much more oxygen to your body and your lungs. Okay, that's the physical part of healing. Now the mental part of healing. All right, you come on the mat with a lot of things in your head. Okay. The
Mm.
mat teaches you, the practice teaches you how to surrender and let go, which is the biggest problem with us. You want to hold on
Yeah.
to everything, what someone said to you, why someone said to you, why I felt bad, your ego, your everything you are carrying, one under your one armpit, one on the other armpit, on the shoulders. So imagine how much you're carrying in your life, Then how are you going to make space for the good to come if you're carrying so much? So that
Yeah.
1 hour, no, teaches you a lot more than just physical. Okay, so you're learning to
Mm,
let go, you're learning to surrender. You're going to go out of your comfort zone. Inversions
mm,
and backbends teach you how to get over your fear. And very
mm.
subtly. This is not happening like nobody's pushing it onto you. It just happens with your practice. Slowly, steadily, you start doing inversions and you realize, oh my God, I can do so many more things that I couldn't do earlier. Why? Because breath
Correct.
and body are working in sync. And that becomes your pattern in life. So the next time that the challenge comes, it doesn't scare you because you've already worked on your fear.
Correct.
So this is the circle of yoga that works hand in hand. It all works hand in hand. It's like a cycle, and you cannot say what is more important: the breath, the movement, the body,
Mm,
or the fact that yogic concepts cleanse your mind. We have a beautiful concept of discipline. Okay. And
mm.
every time that you're teaching, you teach them about tapa. Okay. Now, let me very simple, very simple. Okay. The next time that you're going to go and pick up that last rasgulla, which you know you don't want to eat, you have to keep it back. Simple as that. Very simple.
Mm, mm,
You need a
mm.
discipline in life. You need a routine in life which keeps you disciplined. You have to come on the mat. Whether you come on the mat and do what you want, that doesn't matter. So I am not going to expect a headstand from you every day. But you have to be on the mat. That discipline has to come in your life. And that starts seeping into your other things. So you start coming for your meetings on time. You don't avoid work. You start doing your thing. So this is how yoga changes you unknowingly.
Yeah. 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 Very well said. And that brings me to the next question. But before we get to that, another comment from Ruchi here, which is coincidence that you mentioned about detachment, Supriya. I started exploring the concept of Vairagya recently. Curious to know how many hours do you practice meditation, and do you sometimes feel anxious? How do you overcome anxiety or stressful situation?
So, Ruchi, I don't do meditation for hours. Okay, it completely depends on
Yeah.
what the mindset is. For example, if today I get 15 days, 15 minutes, I will do mindful breathing. I'll probably do Brahmari pranayam, and I know I only have 5 minutes. Then I'll do Om chanting for 5 minutes non-stop. That kind of settles me down. Now there are some days where I know I have the time, I have the leisure, then I will sit, I will do first Tratak. Tratak is candle gazing. So even for me, what I do is I don't just sit on in a corner and meditate. No, I start with something mindful that completely gets my mind to a one-pointed focus. It could be Tratak, it could be probably, writing down, or it could be drawing a mandala, anything. Just start with that. Get your mind to focus on something and then move to meditation. No, we are householders. We have attachment. As much as you say you're going to do vairagya, we can't leave everything and go, right? So
Yeah.
it keeps coming back. In that case, you have to first work on ekagraha state of mind, where you do anything, anything. If Om chanting works for you, that's fine. Or you can take a beautiful object, keep it in front of you, look at the object, visualize the object with your eyes closed. 10 minutes you are focused back again. You've left everything that made you anxious out, and you're back on your focus. And then you can soothe yourself into sitting into like a proper meditation, where there also you can do chanting inwards or you can do chanting outwards. So it all depends upon what your mind trim is. Even some days that also doesn't happen with me also. The mind is fidgeting here and there. Then I simply do tratak and I go to sleep. Then I don't force myself.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, Ruchi, if I don't know if this answers your question, but feel free to share if you have any follow up question. But let me go to the question that I had in my mind as you were speaking about yoga on the mat and off the mat. Um, you speak a lot about that in terms of yoga off the mat, and especially in terms of discipline, in terms of rituals and routines. What does it look like in terms of yoga off the mat in terms of relationships, decisions, emotional well-being? Any thoughts on that you'd like to share?
Uh, yeah. So why I emphasize so much on that? See, if what you practice on the mat does not simplify, okay, I believe you must simplify your life. Okay. The reason we are having so many relationship problems is ego, expectation, and complicated relationships. Why are we complicating everything so much? So I teach my students, I want them to simplify their life as much as you can. Okay, now, how this works, if you say on the mat, if you do headstands and you are handstands and you're doing brilliantly, but if you're going to go out and compare your life to someone and be dissatisfied, or you're going to go back and tell your and compare, and your ego is going to come in between your decisions or with your partner, then I don't think you're doing yoga. Then there is no point
Mm,
doing that headstand. Then you go do any other form of gym. That's perfectly fine for me. But if you're telling me, no, Supriya, I'm going to give you an hour of my life on particular days, and if I can't transform your life, okay, then as
mm,
a teacher, I have failed. Okay. I teach all of them that you have to live a life from unconditional love. Okay. Now, when
mm,
somebody hurts you, na Gopal, we take it personally because the ego gets hurt. Okay. So there
mm.
comes your ego again. Okay. And we fail to understand that it's nothing personal. That person has come from some other experience. She's carrying or he's carrying
Right.
something on. Now, when you're going to look at this from an unconditional love point of perspective, you everything clears out. You say, Chodna, it's okay. It's all right. It was nothing personal. And you leave it. So, what you have done is you have not given space in your head to somebody else to trouble you. So
Correct.
you've kept your peace, your life is going on. Super. Great. You want a promotion, you work 120% into it. Just in case, okay, I'm giving you just in case it doesn't happen. If it sends you back on anger, on resentment, or hatred, then you are not practicing yoga. You have to accept it very willingly. I'm giving you examples because it's a very
Sure.
abstract process, and I need to pin it down so that you understand what I'm trying to say, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So that
Absolutely.
point of time, if you are going, I know somebody who was going through a very, very bad time, okay, and then the last time that she went through a bad time, she said, Supriya, the only thing that came into my mind was you had told me not to get attached to that relationship, and how easily I have been able to let it go and simplify my life. Now, that is how it has to change you. And that is my only aim. I feel you must. I've seen parents having ego with children. Why? What? What is this ego all about?
Yeah.
So simplify it,
Well,
simplify everything in life. Let it
yeah.
just go. And if you're happy, you're going to give happiness to everybody around you, is what I believe.
Correct. 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 Very true. Very true. And I think, uh, well, we need to probably go back and do some research on where does that ego come from, and
100%. Telling you.
and I'm sure there will be interesting findings that we will get. Well, Ruchi says, "Thank you. So glad I'm here, Supriya." So thank you, Ruchi. Appreciate
Thank
you
you,
being here.
Ruchi.
Well, when we talk about yoga and in the current form, a lot of times we hear this, and I have experienced it myself. I mean, why would I lie? I mean, for me, I'm a little overweight, have been battling with weight problems, and when I start doing yoga, it is tough. Not easy for a lot of people who would start who do not have um, experience of yoga for that matter. Uh,
So
and often there comes a point when you try it for a bit and you leave it or you give
correct,
up for that matter, right?
correct.
How do you, I mean, what is your guidance or advice to people like, let's say, like me, who have been struggling with um, getting yoga right, if I can call that?
You know, the problem here is not you. The problem is you're trying to give it 100% on the first day or the first week. Give it
Hmm.
one, like my teacher says. He says, give it
Hmm.
1% every day. And at the end of 100 days, you have given it 100%. And that's how
Hmm.
yoga has to be done. Okay. Most of the times, I have realized that people come and they want to chase it. You cannot chase yoga. You have to let it come to you. And it only comes with patience, discipline, and breath.
Hmm.
So that is so, you come on the mat and just tell yourself, I have to get on the mat. The
Yeah.
output is not what you have to worry about.
Yeah.
And again, as a yogi, you don't have to worry whether that person is in chakrasana and I can't do a chakrasana or I can do. So that is where it starts. That is where it starts. Saying,
Hmm.
oh my God, I haven't taken an asana back home. Why? Why do you come with that expectation? You have come here to give it your best, whatever it is. There are times that I sit on the mat, I do a very slow practice, I do breath work for 40 minutes, and I wrap it up. It's fine. My body says today, this is all I want to do. Okay. So I feel A, you have to communicate with your teacher. Okay.
Hmm.
B, the
Hmm.
teacher has to know you well. So I have students who came to me for the last retreat and they came on the mat and they told me, you know what? We've just come here with a friend. We're not going to come for any
Hmm.
of your sessions. Okay. I was like, okay, doesn't matter. You all have come here. That's more than enough for me.
Correct.
Telling you,
Correct.
Gopal, every session, 6 a.m. in the morning, they would be on the mat. Okay. But at that
Wow.
point, had I told them, no, 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 you have to be there or you see, that is what I'm saying. Yoga, it's not like you cannot force yoga. Okay.
Yeah.
You just let it be. It comes to you. You just come on the mat. That's the promise. I make a promise saying you come on the mat, you will never, ever, ever stop yoga in your life. It's that way.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
within 1.5, 2 months, no, people start noticing such amazing difference in their thought process, in their energy levels, then you will never leave it.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the way to do it.
Very well said. And I think the change that we need to bring in is to not chase it, but let it happen.
Hmm.
Let it come to you, as
And
you
it,
beautifully
yeah,
said.
yeah, and it happens. And I'm telling you, it happens the day you're not expecting it. It literally
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah. Now, one of the things you keep saying and is a very integral element of yoga is breath work, and more importantly, its effect on the mind. What you have seen, or what we typically see, is when the mind is not focused or wavery, maybe a lot of thoughts that is coming into your conscious mind. You try to breathe fast or breathe shallow. And a lot of people often say that it is breathing is very hard for me, and that's why focus becomes even harder, or vice versa. Help us understand this a little better. I mean, like if I were a 5-year old and were to understand what is focus, what is breathing, how do I go about it?
So breathing, no, you have to start very slow. To begin with, uh, there is no compulsion in how much breathing you're supposed to do. Okay. What I mean is when my class, if I'm taking so every Friday, compulsory half class is meditation and pranayam, and there's no choice. And I've had students who've left me because I do that, thinking that I waste half an hour of their life. So they have left me also. That also has happened with me. Yeah. So, but I have made it compulsory. Now, for if you think someone can't do it for half an hour, okay, I understand it's difficult. You start with 5 minutes, okay? And all
Hmm.
you have to do is you have to understand that, okay, I have paid her money. I have come on the mat. I'm going to follow her instructions dedicatedly for the first 5 to 10 minutes. And then I will not do anything if I want to do. Okay. That's what I tell them. I said, just tune in with me for 5 minutes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Pause that, they don't leave. Those first 5 minutes are very critical. Okay. And I tell
Yeah.
them, you've come now, you've come on the mat, right? Just dekho to say 5 minutes, listen to me, and after that, they will not lose a track. Now, when it comes to meditation, no, the Institute always told us that for householders, okay, meditation cannot be like what sadhus and gurujis used to do because they
Hmm.
had leashed that level of awakening, that level of focus and concentration. So for us, the Institute has taught us different methods of getting you into an ekagra state of mind. That's a one-pointed
Hmm.
focus. And that's what I do
Hmm.
with all my students. So sometimes we do like I told you, sometimes we do mandala drawing. Now, by the time you start drawing and you've already gone there, and from there I shift them to meditation. Or from there, I shift them to another form of meditation. The candle
Got it.
gazing is there. If you're glazing at the. So there are different techniques you have to teach your students. And then trust me, you will resonate with one and you'll pick it up.
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
that
mm.
is what works for you. So everybody has a different energy and
Yeah,
different things work for different people.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I teach them all of these, and then they come up and say, okay, you know what? Today's meditation is not working for me. I know that one worked for me. Fair enough. Practice.
Correct,
Practice
correct,
anything that works for you.
correct, correct. Very well said. Um, let's kind of move a little to the kind of audience that may be listening to this, and most of often, and since we are also doing it live on LinkedIn, a lot of people who would watch this would be people who are working, across different generations as well. And workplaces today have not been easy for various reasons. If I were to talk about how it used to be pre-COVID and today, a lot of things have changed. Be the commute time that adds to the stress, be it the hybrid working that adds to the stress, be it extremely high expectations and performance and outcome driven culture that may be adding to the stress. More or less, if you ask anybody today who is in their mid 30s, mid 40s, early 50s, or even beyond for that matter, is struggling with some or the other form of stress. If we were to introduce this concept of yoga for them, and not to say that you need to, I mean, you may say that they need to come onto the mat, but if they were to practice yoga for their own mental well-being, where could they start?
See, I'll tell you what. This is something now you can't do by yourself. Okay. You
Hmm,
have to have a mentor in your life. Okay.
hmm,
I have a mentor who showed me the direction. It's my
sure.
responsibility to make sure that I pass it on to someone because consistency is a problem. All right. Because you have
Hmm,
so many things to do in life. Okay. To
correct,
devote that 1 hour without somebody leading you in that direction is very, very difficult. Okay.
correct,
So
correct.
you have to, and it's not important that you have to do it for an hour every day. Okay. You have to
Hmm,
find a practice, even if you have
hmm,
15 minutes, 20 minutes, but you have to have that discipline to do it every day. Yoga is all about repetition. See, anything, I mean,
hmm,
even otherwise, the concept that the minute you repeat it, it gets fixed into your head, correct? That same thing works here. Repetition
hmm,
has to be there. So you have to be there. Now, like I said, if you have picked up a meditative practice from anywhere which resonates with you, you've done it in the past, now you've done it, you have to come back home and you have to have that discipline. Again, I'm going back to discipline to practice it by yourself. If you don't have that, then you need to find a mentor. They're the only two ways you can do it.
sure, sure,
Yeah. Or if you
sure.
write visions or you have your affirmations, then put it into that. That I
Hmm,
practice at least because you've written down, you will come on, you will do your meditation for 15 minutes. There's something that has to give you that last push because I understand life is very busy.
yeah, yeah. Now, when you're saying this, I mean, a thing that is coming to my mind is, from when we were in our schools, we always knew that the school would start at a particular time, end at a particular time. There was a particular homework that was given to us. So there was a particular regimented life which taught us
Correct.
discipline. When we start living on our own lives and the way things progress in our lives, we keep doing variety of things. We lose that discipline, and it becomes very hard for someone to come back to discipline. So in the last 40 minutes, I would have heard you say discipline, ritual, multiple times.
Right.
How important is it uh, for today's world, which is volatile, ambiguous, uncertain, the VUCA world, as they say, some say Barney, some say Rapt, and many more things. How important it is for the mental well-being for you to be disciplined. By doing that, is that going to help you out at the end of the day?
Very important. Very, very important. Okay. See, uh, training your mind is not an easy job. All right.
Mm.
You already are carrying so much inside it. Okay. So to undo, okay, then to release the stress, and then to make a life peaceful needs time and dedication. Okay. Nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens overnight. I've been practicing for 8, 10 years now. I still sometimes have to go back to my basics and I have to start
Mm.
all over again. Okay. So it's about putting in that effort, and it's not easy. It's very tough to rewire yourself, okay? But it
Mm.
has to be done. And the
Yeah.
the easiest way to do it is discipline, if I would put it this way.
Mm.
You know
Mm.
what I mean? If you would ask me what is that tool you could give it to me, Supriya, which is the easiest and is available all the time, is discipline.
Discipline. Yeah.
आपके पास वो है, you have to just apply it. ऐसा नहीं है कि you have to go out and get it from somewhere. You just have to understand the importance of that and apply it. You already have it.
Mm.
But
Mm.
this is your first step instead, I would say. The first step is discipline. Then so you have to go on and move on to a lot more things.
Yeah. 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 And that's where I think it's a challenge of looking at it as daunting.
Yeah.
Discipline comes at a price, and people feel overwhelmed with discipline as well, but they don't understand, or perhaps me included at some point of times, that it is not very, I mean, it would be harder for not doing things and by being disciplined. Rather, if you were to be disciplined, it becomes a lot more easier. Very well said. Supriya, thank you. I think it was a wonderful conversation, but I do have a quick rapid fire, which I'm going to have to
Okay.
you. So let's see what it brings for you, right?
Okay.
One practice you swear by.
Yoga. So,
Yeah, I'm sure it has done a lot of things to you. So
oh yeah.
I'm, I can completely resonate with that. The biggest myth about yoga that you wish people would unlearn.
Uh, it's very easy.
Hmm. Yeah, very true. But does that mean it is hard?
Not at all. If you do it with the so the thing is, everybody thinks it's all about taking your hands up, hands down, turn here, turn there, and it's not that. So yeah, the myth is it's very easy. It's not.
Hmm. It's not. Yeah, yeah. One book, quote, or a teacher that has deeply influenced your journey.
Mm, Pretty much. So the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, that is my book to go to. And it was so beautifully explained at the institute to us. So that so to even today, when I am at a point where I am in a fix, I open up the book and I read it. The explanation to every sutra. And it has more or less everything, provided you understand the sutra.
Sure.
So that's my go-to.
Your go to advice for someone feeling stuck in life or career.
If it's not working for you, it's not meant for you. Change.
Hmm. Change. Sure. And lastly, in one word, what does healing mean to you?
Happiness.
Hmm. Wonderful. Well, Supriya, it was wonderful speaking to you. I don't think we
Same here.
meant to speak about asanas and which asana is better or why is it better and all of that, but I think we did cover quite a bit about why yoga is important. And I'm sure each one has their own go to action or activity that they can go to. But of course, we discussed quite a bit about how yoga does have a role to play in holistic happiness. And you are a prime example of how it worked well for you. We also spoke about careers. We also spoke about a lot of congruence that one gets by practicing things on a disciplined manner. and why discipline is important, why rituals are important, and why routines are important. So, thank you for sharing this wonderful journey of yours with us and how yoga has helped you. I'm sure people listening in would really take value about all that we spoke about yoga, about rhythm, about alignment, and also the quiet courage that it takes, that we all need to do to return to ourselves when the world demands that we keep running. Thank you for reminding us that behind every title, every role, every ambition, there is a human being who needs tending to, and that well-being isn't a reward for everything done, but it is a reward that we live for.
Absolutely.
It's a ground that we must stand on. It's if you're doing anything that truly matters, it is what we are here for. So thank you everyone for joining in. We're going to get
Thank you, Gopal.
conversations
Thank
like
you for
these.
having me over. It was wonderful.
Absolutely. And we will continue to have conversations like these with people like Supriya, who bring in variety of perspectives to um, not just careers but even life. And that's what we are here to talk about. Before we wrap up, Supriya, any parting thoughts?
No, no. I mean, I just hope I can change more lives. I can touch more lives. And I hope that this conversation between me and you has encouraged people to take their health seriously, to take their mental wellness seriously, and, kind of live a really, really happy life. I just want everybody to go back to sleep every day happily. That's the aim of life.
Wonderful. And I really hope that people do take guidance from this and are able to take the right steps. International Yoga Day is on this Saturday. If you haven't signed up for yoga, please do. And I think it's going to change your life incredibly if you really put your heart and soul to it. Keep watching Kadish's podcast, Journey to the Future. We are going to bring more guests like Supriya. And until next time, stay well and stay tuned. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye. See you.